I'm standing in a courthouse parking lot watching strangers bid on my house. 15,000 going once, the auctioneer's voice bouncing off the concrete. How did I get here? My HOA president, Karen Whitmore, decided the windows she personally approved were suddenly illegal. She thought she could destroy my life over home improvements I'd gotten written permission for. But Karen made one fatal mistake. She didn't know I'd document everything, every lie, every threat, every violation notice from those miserable community center meetings. Fast forward 5 years, I'm holding a $75,000 check. Guess whose signature is on it? That's right, Karen Whitmore herself. She had no idea what she'd started when she messed with the wrong electrician. My name is Marcus Hicks, 52 years old, union electrician. After my divorce, I needed somewhere safe for my 16-year-old daughter Emma's weekend visits. She was already dealing with enough chaos. Willowbrook Estates looked perfect, quiet streets, kids on bikes, barbecue smoke drifting on summer evenings. The house needed work, but that's my specialty. Those original 1973 single-pane, aluminum windows were bleeding money every winter. I researched replacements for months. Double-pane vinyl, energy-efficient, historically appropriate style. I trusted the system. I submitted the architectural request with photos, specs, contractor credentials, the whole package. The HOA had 30 days to respond. On day 28, I got the approval letter. Request approved for installation. Clear as daylight. Signed by the architectural committee. Professional installation, city permits, inspector sign-off, everything by the book. The windows looked fantastic and cut my heating bill in half. For exactly 14 days, I thought I'd won the homeowner lottery. Then Karen Whitmore decided to destroy my life. Karen ran Willowbrook like her personal dictatorship. Real estate agent by trade, control freak by nature. Blonde bob like a helmet, leather portfolio like a shield, smile that could freeze hell. I was flipping burgers for Emma when my phone exploded. Mr. Hicks, your unauthorized modifications are unacceptable. I told her I had written approval. Approval was conditional pending final board review. I stared at my letter. No conditions anywhere. She hung up. Tuesday night, I walked into the community center with my approval letter and righteous confidence. The place smelled like industrial coffee and crushed dreams. Karen sat behind a folding table like she was presiding over war crimes trials. Your window installation violates community standards, she announced, sliding a violation notice toward me like a death sentence. I held up my approval. You already said yes. Approval doesn't guarantee compliance. Her pen scratched across another form. $500 fine, 30 days to pay. $500 for following their rules. I looked around at my neighbors. Every face turned away. The silence was deafening. That's when it hit me. Karen wasn't enforcing rules. She was making examples. The violation notice threatened fines would double monthly until compliance. I dug through my HOA paperwork that night, tracing the financial nightmare. Month 1, $500. Month 2, $1,000. Month 3, $2,000. My post-divorce budget couldn't survive that math. Lawyers wanted $5,000 up front just to read the case. Pay Karen's escalating ransom or pay attorneys to fight her. Financial suicide either way. But electricians troubleshoot for a living. When a circuit shorts, we trace every wire until we find the problem. I was about to discover Karen had been shorting the entire neighborhood. While researching my options, I drove around Willowbrook, counting identical window replacements. 47 houses with the exact same vinyl windows I'd installed. 47 neighbors who'd never received violation notices. Karen wasn't enforcing community standards. She was running a protection racket, and I'd just become her newest target. 2 weeks after I embarrassed her at the meeting, a certified letter waited in my mailbox like a venomous snake. Property lien notice for $2,000. The original $500 fine had mutated into a monster. Late fees, administrative costs, enforcement expenses. Failure to satisfy the lien may result in foreclosure proceedings. Foreclosure over windows she'd approved. I called my 73-year-old neighbor Janet Bennett, who kept the most beautiful garden in Willowbrook. Her voice trembled. "Oh, Marcus, I was hoping you'd call. Karen stopped by yesterday asking questions about your situation, whether you seem financially stable, whether Emma visits regularly, whether you maintain your property. She paused. She's building a case against you. Then the revelation that changed everything. She did the same thing to me last year. Said my garden gnomes violated aesthetic standards. I'm 73 years old. Marcus. I moved the gnomes rather than fight. That night, I researched Ohio property law until my eyes burned. HOA liens require proper legal notice with a 30-day cure period. Karen had skipped straight to filing. Her entire threat was built on quicksand. The next morning, I drove to the county recorder's office basement. Buried in those files, I found her fatal error. The lien was missing 3 required legal documents. She'd cut corners because she assumed a blue-collar electrician wouldn't understand property law. I photocopied everything, filed my formal challenge, and walked out with my first legal victory buzzing through my veins. Karen called an emergency board meeting to clarify window policies. When I arrived, the air felt charged. The board has determined previous approvals were issued in error, she announced. All non-conforming windows must be replaced within 60 days. I stood up, work boots loud on the linoleum. You can't retroactively change approvals, Karen. That's breach of contract. Mr. Hicks, you're out of order. No, you're out of line. I held up my research. Your lien is invalid. You never provided proper legal notice under state law. Her face cycled through white, red, purple. This meeting is adjourned. But the damage was done. I'd humiliated her in front of the board, and Karen collected grudges like stamps. Retaliation came fast. A collections agency started calling. Mr. Hicks, you owe $2,400. We can garnish wages and seize bank accounts. That lien is invalid. I filed a legal challenge. Our client says otherwise. Emma noticed during her weekend visit. Dad, you look exhausted. What's wrong? I pulled her into a hug. Just some boring adult stuff, sweetheart. I converted the spare bedroom into a command center. Timeline covering one wall, copies of every document, photos of windows throughout the neighborhood. If Karen wanted to play games, I'd learned the rules better than she knew them. The breakthrough came when I mapped her enforcement patterns. 47 houses with identical windows. But violations followed a disturbing pattern. Every targeted homeowner was either a renter, minority, or working class like me. Karen's country club friends got friendly reminders. I was staring at systematic discrimination disguised as community standards. Janet called in a whisper one night. Marcus, I found something you need to see. Can you come over quietly? Her kitchen smelled like jasmine tea and careful silence. She handed me a manila folder with trembling fingers. Inside were email exchanges between Karen and board members. One stopped my breathing. We need to be strategic about enforcement. Target renters and blue-collar types first. They're less likely to have legal resources to fight back. That night, I researched fair housing law until dawn. Selective HOA enforcement based on race or economic status violates federal law. Not just HOA rules, but actual crimes with real penalties. Karen wasn't just a neighborhood tyrant. She was running an illegal discrimination scheme. I called Ohio Legal Aid with shaking hands. The intake specialist perked up when I described my evidence. Sir, if you can document systematic patterns, this becomes a federal fair housing case. How much documentation do you have? 3 boxes full, photos, timelines going back 5 years. Hold everything. We're assigning an attorney immediately. Sarah Martinez met me 2 days later. She spread my photos across the table like a winning poker hand. Marcus, this is textbook housing discrimination, selective enforcement, economic profiling, racial targeting. Karen violated about 6 federal laws. Karen doubled down. Her expensive Columbus attorney sent a letter, notice of intent to foreclose. 30 days or sheriff's sale. That weekend, I photographed every vinyl replacement in Willowbrook. Same windows, different treatment. Mrs. Patterson, married to a bank president, got praised. Carlos Martinez, a mechanic who rented, got hammered. Janet's folder was dynamite. Sarah filed the federal fair housing counterclaim. The emergency hearing was set for Friday. Friday morning, I walked into the courthouse carrying 3 boxes of evidence. Karen sat ramrod straight beside her attorney, radiating confidence. She thought she was fighting a scared electrician. Sarah stood like a gunslinger. Your Honor, we're filing a federal fair housing counterclaim. The evidence shows systematic discrimination targeting minority and working-class residents. She read Karen's email aloud. Target renters and blue-collar types first. They're less likely to have legal resources. The courtroom went dead silent. Judge Morrison leaned forward. This court is deeply troubled by allegations of discriminatory enforcement. Mr. Hicks, your foreclosure case is dismissed with prejudice. I'm ordering a complete investigation of HOA practices and referring this matter to the federal prosecutor's office. Karen's smirk melted into panic. Federal prosecutors meant criminal charges. Prison time. Karen's desperation escalated. Anonymous complaints flooded the city about my unlicensed electrical work. My truck was almost towed from my own driveway. Officer Rodriguez wrote Karen a citation for filing false reports and harassment. Then Emma called me at work. Dad, someone broke into our house. Nothing's stolen, but all your evidence boxes are torn apart. I raced home. The evidence room looked like a tornado hit it, but they'd missed the backup drives. Officer Rodriguez arrived. This wasn't random. Someone was looking for specific documents. Federal prosecutors love obstruction of justice charges. The next morning, a brick came through our front window with a note. Drop the lawsuit or lose more than windows. FBI agents processed the scene. Witness intimidation in a federal case. Up to 20 years. Agent Kim called the next morning. We arrested Karen Whitmore at 6 a.m. Federal charges: racketeering, mail fraud, wire fraud, housing discrimination, obstruction of justice, witness intimidation. She's looking at 40 years if convicted on all counts. The emergency HOA meeting felt like Judgment Day. The community center parking lot was packed. Neighbors shared Karen horror stories like war veterans. The board announced Karen's immediate resignation. Sarah Martinez stood. Tonight, we're announcing the terms of her civil settlement. $75,000 in damages to Marcus Hicks for harassment, discrimination, and attempted theft of property through fraudulent HOA enforcement. Applause erupted. Karen was permanently banned from HOA leadership in Ohio. Her LLC dissolved. Properties returned. I walked to the microphone. 8 months ago, I thought I was fighting one woman over some windows. Tonight, we proved ordinary people could defeat corruption when they document everything, build community support, and refuse to back down. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. 6 months later, I'm watching Emma practice her college application presentation in the backyard. The same windows sparkle in the afternoon sun. The settlement funded a scholarship. Emma won $500 for her essay about standing up to injustice. Playground improvements opened. Carlos Martinez won HOA president on transparent governance. Janet leads garden tours with her gnomes proudly displayed. Karen plea bargained. 3 years federal prison, 5 years probation, real estate license revoked forever. Ohio passed the HOA Transparency Act because of this case. Conflict disclosure, limits on foreclosure, tenant rights. My business tripled. Neighbors bring kids to see the evidence timeline that dismantled an 8-year reign of terror. This is what happens when good people document bad behavior. Bullies count on isolation. Communities create accountability. If you've survived HOA harassment, drop your story in the comments. Share this with anyone facing neighborhood bullies. Hit subscribe for more stories where the little guy wins with patience, documentation, and neighbors who refuse to stay silent. Thanks for watching today's HOA Karen Meltdown. Smash that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe so you won't miss the next one.